Hello ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to today's webinar where we're looking at the Kuwait story, specifically the 5 factors to successfully e-invoicing your customers. So I extend to you a very warm welcome indeed. My name is Susie West and I'm your host for today. And I set up sharedserviceslink.com in 2007, specifically because I thought there was a very huge need in the market for a platform to be established, a community to be established where finance and accounting, shared services professionals, purchase to pay leads, continuous improvement heads could come together to information share experiences, share horror stories, share tips and ideas, and basically to learn from each other. So we serve as that community, and about 8 times a year we run conferences. I'm very pleased to say that Certipost, who is sponsoring this webinar today, is also one of our keen sponsors at a number of our events throughout the year. We also have a very instructive website, and if you're a member, you have full access to all aspects of that website where you can collect information, reports, survey reports, news stories, articles, presentations, interviews. And it's free to be a member, so do make sure that you, if you're not already a member, do go online afterwards and become one. And use that, please do use sharedserviceslink.com as a huge resource for you and to drive forward change in your organization. Another way that we help this market, that we hope helps this market mature, is by working with organizations like Certipost on our webinar series. So we've worked with Certipost over the last couple of months specifically on this webinar. And I know that Certipost has spent a long time focusing on making sure that the material that is delivered here is very much geared towards helping you improve your own internal processes. So let's have a look at the agenda for the next 60 minutes. I'll be touching briefly on how this session works, and then talking about the intention of this session, and then I'll be passing straight over to our presenter for today, who will be going into the Kuwait story. We'll then be taking your questions in the last 10 minutes of the call. So it's a very straightforward platform, GoToWebinar. Many of you have used it before. Should you have any technical questions, though, we do have support on the line to help you. What we're focusing on today is slightly different to what we've focused on in the past as far as electronic invoicing is concerned. We are focusing more on the customer side, the customer aspect of electronic invoicing. And I do urge you, for that reason, to make sure that you utilize this opportunity to get answers to your questions. How that works is you have a GoToWebinar panel. Submit your question to me, that will come to me, and then I will take the questions and put them to our panelists in the last 10 minutes of the webinar. The sooner you get me those questions, the more likely it is that they will be asked, so please don't wait until the last minute to send those through to me. Let's have a look at the intention of this session. So electronic invoicing is very much a subject that is front of mind for shared services organizations in relation to accounts payable. And a lot of people have looked at the business opportunity that exists within the accounts payable part of their shared services operation as far as e-invoicing is concerned. Sometimes it's deemed as an easier nut to crack because of the nature of the accounts payable operation. It's very centralized. It's the first area that's looked at as far as standardization is concerned. And it's kind of considered a bit of an easier nut to crack. It's a bit kind of very deemed as low-hanging fruit. However, increasingly shared services organizations are seeing a case for converting the sales invoices in their organization to pure electronic. And why is that? Well, first of all, as we all know, with kind of coming out of the recession, we've all put a huge importance on cash and cash flow and making sure that we get cash from our customers much earlier than perhaps we could do in a paper environment. So there's a recognition that the business case that exists isn't just around the manual touch points, which is also another driver for moving to electronic invoicing on the customer e-invoicing side, but also just making sure that you've got more controls around your billing, and you really increase the chances of getting your payment from your your customers earlier. So with all that in mind, I'd now like to introduce our presenter for today, a gentleman that I'm sure many of you will be familiar with, and his name is Michel de Meyer. He's the Commercial Director at Certipost. Over to you, Michel.
Thank you, Susie, and good afternoon, everybody. I will take you to a journey at the Kuwait case. We have 3 parts in our agenda. The first one will be a small introduction to the company, to Kuwait. The second one is the most important, of course. That will be the Kuwait e-invoicing project. I will take you through the starting of the project, how they, what business needs they had, and what offerings we did. So to end with key success factors and results. And the last minutes I will spend on Certipost and how we could help you. So when we start with the first part, Kuwait, I think everybody is aware knows Kuwait as a company, of course. It's a company founded in 1934 and has its headquarters in Ahmadi, Kuwait. And they're in the oil and gas industry. Up to now, no real news, I think. Oil and gas industry, which means that they do not only do the refining, but also some research and, of course, logistics. They have their own petrol station network, for example, and they also do marketing and sales of their oil products. The Kuwait brand is known since 1986, I mean with that the new logo, of course, when they took over the German Aral network and the Gulf petrol station network. Now, the Kuwait project we will talk about is Benelux, which is over more than 550 petrol stations, and also the sales department, accounts payable, accounts receivable, and also the headquarters of IDS, which is the International Diesel Services, but I'll come back to this some later. So, the finance and administration of Kuwait Oil Company is organized in a Northwestern Europe organization. They have a central ERP, as well at Kuwait as at International Diesel Services, which is SAP. And for their Liberty cards, which is the fuel card system of Kuwait, so your fuel card that you will use when you have to fill your tank, this is managed by a consolidated platform which is called the Fleet Core system. Now, for Belgium and Netherlands, which are the Benelux offices, you can see that the headquarters are in Belgium. Also, their accounts receivable is in Belgium, and some part of the sales organization. The sales organization has been split in the 2 countries, and this is, of course, for cultural reasons. And the accounts payable organization is also in the Netherlands. So now, when we go to the project, Susie, maybe there are some questions first.
Thank you very much indeed, Michel. There are indeed a number of questions. We're actually going to do 3 back-to-back polls here. So I'm just about to launch the first one. It should be appearing on your screen first, just to get an idea of how many invoices you receive annually. So these are specifically your purchase invoices that come in from your suppliers on an annual basis. And this is through EDI. This is electronic if you already have the electronic. This is through paper, through PDF, email, whatever it is. However many invoices you have coming into your AP environment on an annual basis. So, still waiting for a number of you to respond. Only 40% of you have responded. Please do respond to this. We utilize the data that comes from this really as good benchmarking data. So the more of you that respond to each of the polls, the more useful the actual results are. Okay, we're up to 68%. Just a few more of you to vote, please, and I'll be closing the poll in 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's have a quick look at the results there. So coming up on your screen shortly, you can see actually quite an interesting bar chart there. We've got 45% less than 100,000, and then we've got about 45% with over 250,000 invoices. Okay, I'm going to close that down and move straight on to the second poll, which again is focusing on invoices, but this is really focusing on your accounts receivable invoices. So how many invoices do you send out to your customers annually? Is it less than 50,000? 50,000 to 100,000? 100,000 to 250,000? $250,000 to $500,000, or is it over $500,000? Again, 30% of you have voted. Let's see if we can get up to 68%, which is what we did on the first poll. So if you haven't already responded, please do so. How many invoices do you send out to your customers annually? If you're not entirely sure, then please have a general estimation. Is it less than 50,000? 50 to 100,000, 100 to 250,000, 250,000 to $500,000, or over $500,000? We've got 62% of you have voted, so let's close that and have a look at the results coming up on your screen shortly. 50,000, there's 50% of you processing over 50,000 invoices. Interestingly, 17% of you, over $500,000 invoices sent out to your customers on an annual basis. The third question that I would like to ask before I hand back to Michelle is, as far as you're concerned, this is coming up for you now, for which document flows are the benefits of e-document exchange the greater, in your opinion? For which document flows do you believe the benefits of converting to electronic is greater? Is it for the purchase invoices, the sales invoices, maybe equal benefits, or maybe you're not sure? So just one response needed there from each of you, please. 46% of you voted. We will continue to wait until we've got that number up. For which document flows are the benefits of e-document exchange greater? Purchase invoices, sales invoices, equally beneficial, or you're not sure? Okay, let's have a look at those results that have come through and coming up on your screen shortly. You can see there's not too much in it. In between, 38% for purchase invoices, 29% of you said equally beneficial, and 19% of you on the sales invoices. Thank you very much, and back to you, Michelle.
Thank you, Susie. So interesting figures, because I think if you see this, I think there's generally, some people suppose that you have to be huge and send out or receive huge amounts of invoices to do electronic invoicing. But as we see here, I think it's clear that also in the lower or mid-end volumes it can be interesting. So back to the Kuwait invoicing project. So at the start of the project, there were some invoicing systems at Kuwait, and they were rather complex. So I will go through these slides, and you will have, in fact, three parts of this. The first part is the project on the Liberty card, so the fuel card. The problem or the challenge for Kuwait was there that it was few too many invoicing. So there were lots of invoices going out, but only once a month. So one invoice per month. So which means that you don't have huge streams of invoices, of course, which makes a business case rather difficult, or that's what Kuwait thought anyway. Another one is that there are in Benelux there are some a bit more than 46,000 Liberty card users, and there's some half, a bit less than half, is in B2C. So B2C customers are not the same type as a B2B customer, of course. So 20,000 B2C, 26,000 B2B. If you know that every 5.60 through 63 seconds a Kuwait card is used somewhere in the Benelux, you can imagine the data that has to be worked on to get an invoice ready. A second project, apart from the Liberty card, is the International Diesel Services project, which is the next slide. I'm just waiting for the next slide, please. Susie, can you give me the next slide, please? Anyway, the International Diesel Services is a company which is providing diesel and fuel to transport companies throughout Europe. So it's about lots of invoices, 650,000 invoices to be exact, to transport companies across Europe. So it's a company, Kuwait. It's a Kuwait company, but it's a completely different B2B branding and positioning. So there it was especially important to have a European solution. The third project, in which we had some challenges, is a service station project. Now, Kuwait exploits service stations in the Benelux. And as you can see, you have manned stations and unmanned stations. And the owners of these stations are small companies or even a one-man band, as they are called. Sometimes they are in a group of owners, but nevertheless, it's rather the small business part of the professional market. So these were the invoicing systems. So they had a lot of complex invoicing because they had a lot of different target groups and a lot of different expectations from those people. Now, what were the business needs and requirements from Kuwait? First of all, they wanted a business process automation related e-invoicing solution. That's a mouthful, which is telling that their business process automation, which was already installed, it had to be related to the e-invoicing solution. So they did not want a system apart. And by preference, they saw this provided by one party to be able to have some ownership on it. Just a short recap, it was electronic invoices for the Kuwait Liberty Card users, both private and business customers. It was about electronic invoices for international EDS, so international diesel services customers. And there was a need for a unique automated electronic solution for sending invoice proposals to Kuwait and Tango services. So the unmanned network in Holland, the Netherlands, is called Tango. Second one was it had to be scalable and European, and of course, as everybody wants that, a competitive pricing. Third important business need was on implementation, because you have different target groups, different cultures in that, and you need it implemented, and you need those people and those companies on board, and you need a partner for that. So these were the business needs and the requirements. So how did Certipost reacted on these questions, on these challenges? Well, first of all, for the invoicing solution by one party, we proposed a B2B e-invoicing solution and also the B2C version of it, which is, of course, technically probably the same, but the delivery channels are different. We also proposed the B2B self-billing solution for the petrol station network, which is in fact invoice proposals. And of course, when you have electronic interchange of invoices, you also have in some countries, for example in Belgium, you are also obliged to have an e-archive. So you're not allowed to print out an electronic invoice and just put it in your cupboard as a normal archive. So this is what we proposed. For the second challenge, the scalable European solution, we proposed our compliancy. So the solution that we offered is guaranteed legal compliant in the 27 EU member states, which means that we are not only complying to the European directive, which is only a directive, but also to the local legislation, which is the most important, of course. So every country has its own translation of the directive put in some kind of laws. And so the compliancy to these laws and to the directive is of utmost importance for a European sender or receiver. Then what pricing is concerned, we offered modular pricing, which means that they could, like with Lego blocks, they could build their own project and benefit from modular pricing. And we also did volume-based, so the more you send, the cheaper. That's a typical postal pricing offer. On the third one, implementation and onboarding, we offered the Certipost onboarding program, which is a program that consists of the complete project guidance from pre-sales through implementation to post-sales. I'll come back to that later. We did a project management approach on this one, and of course, if you don't measure, you don't know if you're doing well or not. So reporting and metrics were very important in our offer. So in a nutshell, on the next slide, you see what we offered. So we offered a solution to the international diesel services companies, to the Kuwait Liberty card holders, B2C and B2B, and we offered, and that's a bi-directional, of course, a self-billing solution to the Kuwait and Tango service stations. Now, without going into detail in the technicals, how does this operate? Well, it's you have the SAP and Fleet Core system of Kuwait, and then you have, of course, the outgoing invoices. Now, in top of the slide, you see the integrated. So this is typically for the international diesel services, which were all companies, transport companies, and most of these transport companies operates with an SAP or another system, another CRM or ERP system. So we connect machine to machine, which means that we connect the ERP system of Kuwait to the ERP system of the transportation company. Of course, not all companies, and especially in Liberty Card and petrol station, not everybody has an ERP. So then we offered the webmail solution. And the webmail solution is in fact the same thing as, for example, a Hotmail. So you receive a Hotmail in a sort of a webmail application. Well, our webmail application for e-invoicing is a bit the same. Of course, it's much more secure, and it's in a secured environment, so you will not get classic emails, but only administrative e-invoicing or other solution-related mails with your invoices in it. And then, of course, the archiving, but I explained this on the slide before. Susie, I think it's time for another poll now.
Thank you very much indeed, Michelle. So, appearing on your screen now, is there a difference, in your opinion, is there a difference and experience in payment terms between paper and electronic invoices and an electronic invoice? Do you believe an electronic invoice is paid quicker? Do you believe, in your experience, is a paper invoice paid quicker? Do you think that perhaps there is no difference, or maybe you're not sure? So just to restate that, is there a difference in payment terms between a paper invoice and an electronic invoice? Yes, an electronic invoice is paid quicker. Yes, a paper invoice is paid quicker. You don't think there is a difference, or perhaps you're not sure. 79% of you have voted, so a good time to close the poll. Let's have a look at the responses. A very, very clear winner coming up with 43% of you believing that an electronic invoice is paid quicker. 35% not sure. Sorry, 35% no difference, 22% not sure. Back over to you, Michelle.
Thank you, Susie. Well, let's go into the business case now. So we offered our answer to the needs of Kuwait, and then of course Kuwait goes into the business case part of this project. And there were in fact two things that they checked. The first one was the impact on the P&L, and second was the impact on the customer satisfaction. So what the P&L so the profit and loss analysis for Kuwait was consisted of. Important was for them, they had a connector SAP, so they had an SAP system, and they were really calculating on what the cost would be to have the automatic processing connected to their SAP, because that would make them really automated. Another element of the business case was, of course, paper invoices are being sent by postal delivery, and you have handling. So the cost of that was put against the cost of an e-delivery, so an electronic delivery of an electronic invoice. Of course, very important were the cost savings that they would be able to do in the finance department on invoicing, so handling and preparation, follow-up, and etc. And they were really very ambitious on this. They had a business case based on 70 to 80% of benefits. Of course, also the decrease of workload in the customer service, because paper invoices imply more customer service than e-invoices. We'll come back to this later on. Of course, also important was that the budget in this project was plannable, as it was modular, so the investment was planned. Impact on the customer satisfaction is also important, because in the end, Kuwait is a company selling things. And if you sell things, you need happy customers. So it had to be a fast and easy solution, because changing people from paper to electronic is also an attitude change. So it has to be fast and easy. And sales of Kuwait, the Kuwait sales teams also saw it as a loyalty driver, because when you can offer such solutions to your customer, and your customer is happy with that, he will be far more loyal to your company. And of course, then you have an improved sales relation, and then you should have increased revenues. So there was not only the cost, but also the revenues. And this is all about the outsourcing strategy of Kuwait. Kuwait was very clear on that. They are a petrol company, and they wanted to stress the fact that their job is selling petrol. So keeping control of processes and outputs in a transparent model is what they looked for. So it is not their job to manage the e-invoicing or the invoicing flows. It's, of course, their job to get paid for what they sell. Now, when we go to the benefits of e-invoicing, then we have four important parts of that. And the first one is already over there. It's the strategic part. As a company, you can position yourself as corporate governance. You can position yourself with an ecological footprint, which means that even if you are selling petrol, which is, and everybody is well aware of that, not the most green product on earth, you still can position yourself as ecologically thinking with some corporate governance. And very important on the strategic part also, when you want to install other e-solutions in your company, maybe not even connected to the invoicing, then having e-projects which are successful does help change attitude within the company. Second one is the finance benefit. Of course, there has to be a finance benefit. So the cost reduction on several departments like finance, customer service, and even sales, because sales time is getting shorter, is important. And then, and that's what I already initialized some minutes ago, there is less disputes and practically no lost invoices. One of the biggest problems of Kuwait was that their paper invoices got lost. And then you could say maybe that's a bad postal service, but no, it's not a bad postal service. It's more it's more that you can win some money when you wait with paying and paying, and those people were called by the call center to say, listen, we have an open invoice, and I said, yeah, we didn't receive an invoice. So the lost invoices, because you can offer track and trace in an electronic environment, there are no lost invoices. You can prove when they are sent and even when they are read by the recipient. And then you have, of course, a cash flow acceleration, which is definitely the outcome of the poll that we did. Yes, there is a cash flow acceleration because people will not pay an electronic invoice faster, but it is faster over there. So you gain in days. Of course, an international transportation company which has, for example, 30 days payment, they will not go to 20-day payments because you sent them an invoice electronically, but the documents will be there sooner. So your due date will be there sooner, and that's important. Then you have, of course, control, budgeting, and planning. And just explain 1 minute on that. When you have one-man bands operating petrol stations, then some of those professionals are sending you an invoice for their commissioning once a month, once a quarter, once a year, sometimes even not within the year. You can imagine that budgeting a commissioning budget at finance is very difficult. So when you take control via self-billing on when commission is paid, then you gain a lot of efficiency. And no need to say that the recipient who gets the commission is also happy. So third one is the operational part, of course. When you have less handling, mail, and archiving costs, then you can free up people to do things that are more related to the core business. When an e-document has been sent, you have a guarantee and an immediate delivery. When you do authoring, it's errorless. There can be no mistake on that. And of course, all the complete process is being monitored. So you know whenever there would be something going wrong or going not exactly as planned, you are immediately aware of that. And the fourth one is the sales and marketing part. As I explained already, an improved customer relation can lead to retention or even to bigger business. And a second one, which is also important, is that Kuwait integrated our web presentment tool into their CRM portal. So, which is that the interface that we built for Kuwait was Kuwait branded via a single sign-on. The SSO stands for single sign-on. So as a recipient, you sign in and you are on the Kuwait portal, but in fact you are on the Certipost delivery portal embedded in the Kuwait portal, which is, of course, for sales and marketing managers an interesting thing, because then you can communicate with your customers even on an invoice, which is not always the best marketing product. Well, in this interface, it is. Now, we have had needs, we have had an offer, and we have had a business case, and they were agreeing on benefits. Now they still had to choose a provider, of course. There was a supplier on automation in the house, but it was not a provider having skills in the e-invoicing. So there was a limited expertise issue, technically, legal, and also onboarding, but it's because, and that's something very important, it's not only about techniques, it's especially on the onboarding and the legal stuff. And then they could maybe build some, but then it would be from scratch and for Kuwait only, so it would be a very difficult and long development period. So Kuwait went in the market via an RFP process, and we answered this RFP, and we are quite happy that we won it, of course. Now, why were we chosen by Kuwait? First of all, because we had an international platform, so there was definitely a demand for Europe, and we had an answer for that. The development period to deliver the system was short, and short is, of course, something which is personal, but it was short for the project that Kuwait had in mind. Know-how and experience, of course, this is important on the technical side. And then there was, of course, the VAT and legislation compliancy. And then, of course, when you work with a financial and operational stable organization, that's important because you know this information is data sensitive, it's secure, it's about invoicing, it's your personal war chest. So if you work with someone, with a company that is maybe no longer there in a year or even shorter, then you have an issue. Okay, so implementation. What did we do with? How did we proceed? So first of all, the fuel card project. As you know, there were some B2C customers, and the B2C customers, we started off with a kickoff back in 2007 with a bit less than 20,000 pilot customers, so 20,000 tank card holders, and we added to that some 2,000 customers in 2010. We used an opt-out strategy. I'll come back to this in a minute because it's very important to have the difference between the two strategies on onboarding. In the B2B customers, you see that it's a bit more phased approach because B2B customers are, of course, they have a more equal relation to your company than a B2C customer. So we did in 2007, we did the kickoff in Holland. It was practically beginning 2008. We did Belgium and Luxembourg after it in the same year. And in 2010, we added some 10,000 customers in B2B. Some months afterwards, 900. And then we passed over to another approach, which is in fact the 2-monthly rollout wave. So every wave consists of 1,400 customers. So every 2 months, we put 1,400 customers extra on the platform. Now, what the onboarding of the B2C customers is concerned, I already told you that we had opt-out and opt-in. Now, opt-out is an approach in which you, let's say, not oblige your customers to accept, but still you push them, gentle but firmly. You tell your customers, for example, you send them their last paper invoice, and you say, listen, you put a nice friendly letter in it, and you say, this is your last paper invoice. Your next one will be electronically and will be available for you on our platform, Kuwait/whatever. And your username and password is the following. So everything was in one communication, and of course it was followed up. And that's an opt-out approach. So a customer is always allowed to say no, but as you can see in the numbers, 87 people of the 20,000 said no. So only 87 were not interested in e-invoicing. And only 3% contacted the call center with questions. So I think you can say that the communication was very clear and very easy to understand. So how do we do this? As I explained, some informative mailings well in advance, because planning is indeed key. If you do this, you really have to plan every step in the process. And then, of course, you have to be ready for calls. And as you see, we only did 3% of those calls, but still you have to be ready. So we were ready in every language that we approached, with native speakers having the same culture as the callers. But as I explained, we had very few contacts. And of course, the marketing machine provided clear leaflets. On the B2B customers, we did another approach. Of course, I think we as a provider, we like the opt-out approach. But companies often tend to be a bit careful because they say, yes, but these are business relations. So Kuwait decided to go for an opt-in approach. And opt-in is in fact a very friendly letter asking if a company is willing to go on the e-invoicing project. So it's far more free to answer no or to say, yeah, maybe later. Because an explicit approval was necessary. The onboarding went well, but not as well as in the B2C part. And that's why you see that since January 2010, Kuwait decided to go into the opt-out approach, which is indeed going far more faster and better. And I think if you have a good customer relation, you should really think about going opt-out. And as well here, same thing, clear communication, and we used a little bit adapted to B2B, of course, but we used, in fact, the same building blocks, meaning well in advance to communicate on paper invoices, communicate on websites, send them username and passwords. So, what the service station project is concerned, the implementation of the self-billing also went very well. We had some 350 self-billing dealers connected in Belgium, so which means 97%. And this is a huge number because those are really small companies. Those are really one-man bands. Those are really people owning just one service station working for Kuwait as an independent worker. And if you get to to have these people accepting your self-billing, then you have a good story. And of course, the story was that they would be paid faster because Kuwait would take control of their billing, which was very interesting. You see that we had 9 service stations not converted, but that's because they just didn't have an internet connection. That's of course a technical burden. Luxembourg, we had a very good number also, 89% of the stations were covered. And for the Netherlands, we had 100% of the unmanned station. That's maybe a bit easier. And the manned network was executed as from 2009, but we did not get the latest numbers from that. So, it's very important, the financial results. This pay off for Kuwait. Well, I can say I cannot give you, of course, every numbers, but some important numbers are really public now and are really interesting. Because if you see that the e-invoicing Liberty Card project, so the fuel card project, gained 200,000 euros a year for Kuwait, which is a huge number. With this number, you can invest in other more core business-related projects, or you can do some other investments, or just make a better EBIT, of course. The international diesel services invoices on the B2B side, there are no figures yet, or anyway, no figures that I can communicate on. That's a pity, but this is already good that I can show you some figures. The self-billing stations, there we had some 19,000 euros that Kuwait could optimize per year. Of course, this is because they take control of their own commissioning system, so this is especially on the efficiency side of the project and less on the financial side of the project. The return on investment was reached in less than 1 year, and this is very important. This is not an exception. If you get your projects well organized, well prepared, and you do the right thing on the right moment, then you can have really interesting results. Depending on the project, we had 3 projects with them, it was between 6 and 9 months on average. So in practically all projects, we had benefits in the same fiscal year, and you can imagine that the financial director is very interested on this. So this is on the financial results. I think we come now to the key factors. What made this Kuwait case a success, and what could make other cases a success, because now we are leaving Kuwait a little bit behind and really going into the generic part of what are the important things to know. The first and utmost important one is keep it simple and communicate, communicate, communicate. So you really have to involve all shareholders. You start within your own company. You talk to your own people, your salespeople, your customer service, finance, logistics, everyone involved in the project, purchasing, whoever. You even talk to some key customers on this. You really need also a management sponsor, because this is a change project which does not only involve finance, but also marketing, sales, IT even. So you really need management support, and you need a sponsor for this. And then of course you need to communicate. If you do not communicate enough and well in advance, then you miss some parts of the project, and you will see it in your results. It's about marketing communication, but it's also about training. You have to train your people, you have to train customers sometimes, or suppliers. And you have, for every company, or for every party, excuse me, for every party, you have to install a SPOC, which is a single point of contact. Which means that if a service station or a petrol station owner has a question, he knows who to call at Kuwait. Same thing for an IDS customer, because it will be different questions and different customers. The second one is onboarding. I think if you communicate well and you have a good onboarding, you're halfway, even more than halfway. So you have to have a well-prepared onboarding strategy, and as we at Certipost see it, it has to be phased. Do not go for a big bang, because big bangs make a lot of noise but don't change the world. It did maybe once a long time ago, but in e-invoicing it won't. So it's very important to have very precise target groups. And this is very important. If you don't have clean master data, invest in it, because master data is what kills this project. If your master data is not correct, email addresses not being there, or wrong addresses, whatever, then you have an issue. And then of course you need to decide if you go opt-in, which is the friendly way of asking, or opt-out, which is the firm but also friendly way of asking, of course. And that's what you see in the B2B implementation at Kuwait. You need to be open to correct or adapt your approach. If you see that an approach can be optimized, or if we, for example, your provider tells you that there is a better approach, be open for it. If it's not possible, it's not possible. But if it is, please do. And you see that the opt-out strategy in B2B was, after some time, adapted at Kuwait, because they saw in their B2C project that there really was a positive impact. And the third one in onboarding is, of course, allow your customers or your suppliers, inbound or outbound, allow them some time to adapt. We are talking about change here. We are about attitude. You're also talking about addenda, contract addendums, or legal issues. And as we all know, the legal guys, they take time. So guide your customers or your suppliers. Push gentle but firmly, and explain every time again what you're doing. If you go to the third key success factor, this is one on choose a provider that can have scalable solutions, because some companies will have one target group in one sector or one industry and one type of customers, but most of companies have a broader range of customers. For example, at Kuwait, they have B2C and B2B in the fuel card holders. Those are two completely different target groups with a different communication approach. They had service stations, which are SMEs, and SOHOs. And SOHOs is a small office, home office. So really the small companies, the one-man or two-man companies, the one-man bands, like they say. And they had the IDS, big transport companies, where you had integrated solutions, portal solutions, and web-based solutions. So you need not only a difference in your target groups, but also a difference in the solution that you will provide to them. The fourth one is metrics. If you don't measure, you do not know how good or how bad you are performing. So reporting is key, and that's why we installed the Certipost service management department. And this department provides customers with statuses on implementation, pre-sales, post-sales. They will do this by calls or by visits. They also will provide status and result reporting on how many were accepted or how many were rejected, or every possible reporting. And of course, it's good to have reporting, but they also provide the monitoring, and they will propose corrective procedures. So track and tracing delivery reporting is in fact important because it's happening somewhere in the cloud, and you need to be sure that you know what is happening in the cloud. And for this, we installed service level agreement, of course, which will be managed and reported on to the customer. So metrics is indeed important. And last but not least is the go for future-proof solutions and approach. E-invoicing is, of course, it's the most known and most important e-project, but it's only just a start. Because if you have e-invoicing installed in your company, you can easily do extensions to other administrative documents. Just some examples. For the logistics and finance department, you could well install e-supply solution that will lead to an e-invoice. If you have logistics, HR, or purchasing, you could install e-contracting, which is electronically signed contract leading to a supply, leading to an invoice. So you can go back in the chain, of course. On the HR side, you could even go for e-salary slips, so no more paper. And you could offer certificates and all kinds of other solutions that are linked in one or another way to an e-invoicing. Very important is if you are talking about change management or adoption degrees or adoption rates, then it's very important to have a paper to electronic migration. So if you can outsource your e-invoice or your invoicing project to a provider that will manage to do both the paper and the electronic, then you have a one-stop solution for a migration path at your own pace or at the pace of your customers or suppliers. And then we are talking about scanning solutions, OCR validation for inbound or for data to print for outbound that still stick to paper delivery. So these were the key success factors. I think it's time for another question now.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Thank you. So coming up on your screen now, in your opinion, we've had some of the critical success factors presented by Michelle. In your opinion, what is crucial to making e-invoicing a success? We've got 5 options here. Multiple choice, you don't just need to tie yourself to one. The onboarding service that would be provided by the service provider that you work with, the technical support, European reach, stroke VAT compliancy, the total solution, something perhaps that can take your paper and convert to electronic at the same time, return on investment. So which ones of those are key? Maybe if you point to your top 1, 2, 3, and that would be very helpful. 50% of you have voted. If you haven't already cast your vote, please do so. As I mentioned, we do like to get the numbers up nice and high. It does make the data that bit more meaningful for us. So just to recap, in your opinion, what is crucial to making e-invoicing a success? Onboarding service, technical support, European reach, and with that VAT compliancy, it being a total solution for your paper and electronic, or return on investment. 75% of you have voted. So closing the poll in 3, 2, 1. Let's have a look at the results. Got one clear winner, onboarding service. And then in second place we have 3 at 48 each. Technical support, European reach, straight VAT compliancy, and ROI, interestingly, coming in second place. And then only 24% of you looking for a total solution for the paper and electronic, but still very important. Back over to you, Michelle.
Okay, thank you, Susie. I think it's no secret, onboarding service is indeed, you can have a great project. If you don't have an onboarding service, then your project will never go live. So I think it's a very clear and very correct answer. So we're on the last part of the webinar for what the case is concerned. So maybe I could spend some minutes on Certipost, just guide you through who we are, what we are, and why we are in this business. So Certipost is in fact a full member, 100% member of the Belgian Post Group, which you could, it's like the Royal Mail in England or TNT Post in Holland, for example. So and we are in fact the strategic business of this postal company. So they really see us as the innovative next step into postal business. As a company, we have over 16 years of international experience because we had our early years in the EDI. So we started, I think, somewhere in 94, 95 as an EDI expert in e-supply, taking up e-invoicing as from 2004. If you do e-invoicing, you really need legal compliance, so we invest a lot in this. We have PricewaterhouseCoopers as our in-house or outsourced, more to say, outsourced controller or auditor. So they make sure that our solution, that we are provided with every law change, every change that could be on compliancy, and we will adapt immediately our systems to that. International onboarding is, of course, very important. As I said already sometimes, there is no success without onboarding. Today we have some 85,000 companies connected to our network, companies receiving and companies sending, or companies doing both, of course, on our network. And we have some interconnections because we believe that just like in mobile telephone business, we will never be the only one in the market. So we collaborate with other providers to make sure that their customers can connect to our customers and the other way around. That's why we believe in partnerships and alliance, of course. What our business lines is concerned, the first one is a document exchange solution, which is all about what we talk today. It's about e-invoicing, e-supply solution, e-contracting solution, so contracts being sent out electronically signed, and e-archiving. And of course, and even if it's only 26% for the webinar attendees, the migration from paper to electronic is something, for example, which is in the Benelux very hot topic. So we also invest a lot in the printing and scanning solutions. Yes, exactly. There's my bullet. So when you go to the document protection solutions, Certipost is also the provider of the Belgium EID card. So we have an identity card for every Belgium with a chip on it, with some certificates on it. With this chip, with this certificate, every Belgian can prove who he is and can sign legal documents. So this is also on the business line that we offer, together with e-certificates, e-signing, and e-timestamping, which are building blocks that you will see into our e-invoicing solution. Because if you send an e-invoice, it will also have to be signed to prove from who it's coming from and who it's going to, and you also need a timestamp for fiscal or control reasons. And then, of course, as we are a B-Post or Belgian Post company, we also provide some innovative solutions for them. Now, typology, I think this is clear throughout the presentation I gave. We are focusing on corporate customers because they are, of course, the ones working more on e-projects and onboarding. We do not limit ourselves to one or another industry, so we service every industry that is interested in our solutions. We have an international reach, and that's because we, as a Belgian company, Belgium is only a small company, a small country, of course, so we are used in our way of doing business to work abroad. But if I say that we are doing corporate customers, that does not mean that we are not interested or not servicing the medium and lower segments, because of course in a relationship, an invoicing relationship between corporate customers, you will always have medium and lower segments. So then you need accountancy programs or plugins in ERPs or portal or webmail solutions. So this is the next slide. Is a slide on how we operate. So there you can see that we do the incoming and outgoing part. So we are AR and AP oriented, and we do electronic and, of course, migration from paper to electronic, or even from electronic to paper for the people really loving paper, with e-archiving as an obligatory solution. So in a nutshell, total solution, paper and electronic, any format. So we are agnostic to format, so we will map or translate any format to any format. The documents, not only invoicing, but also supply chain documents, contracts, e-salary slips, whatever, any industry, internationally, with the onboarding service that we really want, and we really are top of class, because that's our most important aim. And of course, when you do data services, you really need some quality. We have some references on the next slide, just to, of course, not every company is on it, but just to show you that we are multi-industry. So you see there finance, public, distribution, fast-moving consumer goods, electro. So you probably know some of those names. Some of those names will maybe be some more Benelux-oriented, but still, just to show you that we offer solution in all kinds of industries. So to end, just our mission, which is we really intend and we really want to be the strong and reliable partner for electronic interchange in B2B within Europe. Then maybe you could ask, why is he talking about B2C? But that's in Belgium. Within Europe, we focus on the B2B part of solutions in electronic. So back to you, Susie. A big thank you for listening, and back to you, Susie.
Thank you very much indeed. Before we go into questions, just one final poll for you. When are you looking to be live with e-invoicing for purchase and or sales invoices? Maybe you're already live. You're going live imminently. We are looking to be live by end of 2011. We will be live in 2012, or maybe you're not sure as yet. So please do respond to that. 30% of you have voted. And just one choice for you, please, ladies and gentlemen, on that one. When are you looking to be live with your e-invoicing transactions coming into your environment in a very much a data format, either on the purchase, the sales, or both aspects of the financial transaction? Maybe you're already live, going live imminently, looking to be live end of this year, going live next year, not sure as yet. Okay, thank you very much for that. I'm just going to show those results now, and it's quite interesting actually, because 25% of you said that you're already live, and another 25% are looking to be live either imminently or end of this year, which is quite a sizable chunk. And interestingly, the remainder of you are not sure as yet, with nobody saying that you're going to be live as such in 2012. So interesting dynamic there. Let's move straight to questions. We're a little bit pushed for time, so let's, if I can ask Michelle for a fairly rapid response, please, to the questions that we've got.
Okay.
Questions that we've got from the attendees. Very interesting feedback. One person in particular has asked, yes, it's obviously great to get the customers on board, but when you're just another supplier and you really don't carry any weight with your actual customer, how do you then go about actually enforcing it?
Okay, yeah, it's true that when you are a really big one, enforcing, or I prefer to use the word opt-out, is more easy. But I think it's all about the relationship. If you can clearly show the benefits for the sender and the receiver, and that's what the onboarding project is also about. It's what communication will we bring, and we will adapt the communication to the situation. So if you are a small supplier, there is no need to be afraid to ask your customer or your other supplier to step into an efficient system. So it all depends on how we will communicate. And that's something we do in the onboarding strategy.
Thank you very much. And let's flip over to the other side now, and a question on your handling suppliers, specifically mid to low volume suppliers. What are your kind of top tips for converting the low to mid volume suppliers onto e-invoicing?
Well, we did the Heineken. For Heineken, we do this in Holland. They have a lot of very small suppliers. They, of course, have very big suppliers, but the small suppliers, we installed a supplier portal for them. So there is a supplier portal that we installed, which is, in fact, Heineken puts there the information, and the suppliers can connect on the supplier portal with a username and a password, and then fill in the elements. So it's not ERP to ERP, but we use a standardized supplier portal for smaller suppliers. For example, at Heineken.
Thank you very much indeed. And also a question, you've got VAT compliance in 27 countries. What's your presence and level of activity in Central Europe?
Well, we have a domestic, our domestic market is in fact the Benelux. And the other countries, we are a cloud company, so we have the strategy that we don't think we need to be present in every country to do business. So And we have an international follow the customer strategy, which means that if a customer goes international and invites us to go to these countries, we will follow. And Central Europe, if you mean really Germany, France, UK, then we have already a significantly part of customers there. But the physical presence is in the Benelux. But I think in cloud business, physical presence is a bit exaggerated, I think.
So countries, for example, like Czech Republic, Poland, for example, they're companies that, because of the model that you're using, they're organizations that you would happily do business with.
Yes, absolutely. We are in Czech and in Czech Republic and Poland, for example. We are present for the InBev brewery and also for Heineken and also for some other companies. Yes, we are already present in these countries. Yes.
Okay, good. And just finally, you touched on your view on interoperability and then saying that you do have other partners. Is there anything else that you would like to add to that particular view?
Well, I think interoperability is something the markets will need. If you see the explosion that we saw in the telecom, in the mobile telecommunication, if you want an explosion in the e-invoicing, and of course I as a provider would like that, but I think every sender and buyer or supplier would like that, then we need to interoperate with other providers. So I think, and I really think it's also, my customers or my prospects, every one of them always ask, are you interconnected? So I think it's the market needs it. I think the customers need it, so I think we should go for that, yeah.
Thank you very much indeed.
To have a good coverage.
Thank you very much indeed, Michel, for your very comprehensive presentation there and coverage of the Kuwait story. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for your time and attention. Please do join us for the next case study webinar, which is taking place on the 19th of July. Please make sure you put that in your diary. It's the Orange Business Services story, looking at more at the data capture aspect, so really how to handle the paper flow. And I look forward to welcoming you next time. Thank you and goodbye.